internet?
I don't know. I mean, it's not slow. I'll tell you that. Well, that's okay. Do you live in like a city?
No, I live in the sticks, and so that's why.
Well, that does not make your internet faster, sir.
So I'm at work now where we actually have like good fiber internet.
Yeah, you look good.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. My name's Ben. Here to talk about shooting. We have two guys. You guys don't know each other. So we've got Tyler Turner from Georgia.
Hello.
And we have Jeffy from Edmonton.
Hello, everyone.
Well, planning a bang-up show today. I'm sure you guys both have fun and interesting topics to talk about. Tyler, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's good.
You're going to talk about how long it takes to download porn with your internet connection, or what?
Yeah, it takes forever. It's awful. So I use my phone with the 4G. But my topic, seems like it's been going around a lot lately. I forget what year it was, maybe 1990 Nationals. But it seems like everyone's gotten really nostalgic and going back in time and watching old Nationals videos. And which I was a toddler at the time, which I thought was pretty funny when all those guys, like the OG, like famous guys in the sport, were out there crushing it. But it's interesting to see how things have changed. But my specific topic is, you watch those videos and see the kind of challenges, shooting challenges that you would never see at a match today, even at Nationals, even in IPSC, as far as I can tell.
These
scaling.
Challenges to include what?
Well, stuff like, it's a lot more physical, like scaling walls. You're hopping over fences. It's a lot more prop heavy. You're having to do a lot other things, navigate a lot of other obstacles and challenges other than just the shooting. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. MDs would get screamed at if they ran an entire match just like that. But I think it'd be cool to do a redundancy wall at least once, like to scale a ladder.
All right, Tyler, I have a statistic for you. I'm going to put it out there.
All right.
And I'll see what you have to say about this, because I think this might kind of speak to your point. I'm thinking of the last 3 club matches I shot. 3, and because I think I've done 3 in the last 3 weeks, maybe. And I did not have to move more than 7 steps without shooting between all 3 matches, and that was unusual. Most I can only think of a few occasions I had to move more than 5 steps. Yep. So that was the most physical, was moving 7 steps between shooting. Well, what would you say about that?
Well, I think that's the norm. I mean, it's all shooting all the time. That's what the people want, and MDs are giving it to us. Or at least I think that's all we know, is if it's not a drag race, it's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, even with the most accuracy intensive stage that between those matches, I mean, maybe the hit factor was 7 on it, with the exception of a strong hand, weak hand classifier thing. So even when we're really kind of slowing things down and testing accuracy, it's still pretty fast shooting. And that's par for the course, right?
Yeah, and I think it tends to be a binary thing. Like, you walk up on a stage and you can say, oh, this is a hoser stage, or hey, this is an accuracy stage.
Like how you put that in quotations.
Yeah. I don't know. I think in general, at least at the club level and really at all levels, kind of do a poor job of blending, challenges and thinking outside the box. So that's why it got me thinking, watching these old videos, old footage. I mean, it's drastically different. And in some ways, I'm sure it's better, but have we lost something that would be fun to kind of turn back to? And also, it raises kind of a larger, like more philosophical question about, practical shooting, because I would argue what we do really isn't practical anymore, in the strictest sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to run down a hallway or shoot through a couple windows 32 rounds or 24 rounds, at these we're gonna John McClane, we're gonna die hard this thing, whereas I think a more practical test would be, you're having to both navigate physical barriers, but you're probably also going to have to do something else, in addition to the shooting. Like, you're going to be holding something, you're going to be leaping over something, you're going to be crawling under something.
Well, I also think it makes the shooting more difficult, right? I mean, if it's weird positions, or if you
Yeah.
have to run, I'm not talking about doing a 100-meter dash or something, but instead of 5 steps between shooting positions, maybe there's one place where you have to run 20. And,
Yeah.
it gets your heart rate up a little bit. It does make the shooting a little more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean,
it lowers the hit factor, and no one wants that in the States.
Sure does. And then that makes the points count for more.
Yep.
But I can't tell you the last time, or maybe y'all tell me the last time you actually reached like full sprinting velocity, like on a stage. You know what I mean? Like you reached your personal top MPH or KPH.
It was a not a match in the U.S. Let me put it that way.
It was my last match, but then again, I'm in Canada.
Yeah. I'd like to hear about that. Can you describe it?
Oh, I saw footage of this, didn't I, Jeff?
You did. It was about a 100-meter run, actually. So a good, 300 feet of running. And it's a lot of running to cover distance and not actually engaging targets along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually kind of nice. Add an element of having to actually traverse some ground, get your heart rate jacked up, and then you still have some fairly difficult shots to make at the end of the run.
Yeah. And I would defy anyone to tell me that's not practical.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the physicality has gone away in the U.S. because like that population of people got older. There's a few match directors I know that kind of have like a unwritten rule. Hey, we're not doing low ports. It hurts my knees. We're not doing this or that. And that stuff has been toned down. Even since I've been shooting, it's been toned down a lot. Like a Rhodesian wall at the first section match that I shot, USPSA, this was like 2006. We had a Rhodesian wall. Like we had that.
That was the last time?
That was the last time I've seen it, as far as I can recall.
Well, I mean, those guys in those videos from the early 90s are still shooting.
Yes.
So they're now the ones that are influencing match design to some degree. All right. So even up here, we have distance to cover. We have interesting props like physical barriers, like doors and vehicles that we use. But things that actually test physical strength and agility, like a Rhodesian wall. Heck, even Cooper tunnels. Those are quite rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that I always think about when this topic comes up is that in other sports, you're old, like tough shit, that attitude is like, that's no problem, where it's kind of like, hey, some guy might say, hey, I don't want to do soccer because, running around and stuff, like I'm gonna have a heart attack. And you'd be like, okay, that's fine. Okay. but we've kind of gone the other direction and dialed things down quite a lot. Now, I don't think we should turn it up to like dummy carries or whatever.
Yeah, no, and
But
that's the other
should
side.
turn it up some.
If you basically recreated that Nationals, let's say the 1990 Nationals this year,
Yeah.
it's not going to be too much fun. But if you brought in some elements, you know. Oh, the other thing I thought of was, have you ever done a jungle run
Yeah.
in the U.S.?
No.
I'm sensing a trend. I would love to do a jungle run. That would be so awesome. But
I've done my share of jungle runs. Your share too, from the sounds of it, but not here.
Yeah, I want my jungle runs.
Yeah, and I don't mean like a 3-gun style jungle run where it's more like a shotgun walk where somebody like slow walks as they're like shoving more rounds into a shotgun and go boom, 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 blow up some clays and just keep walking through the woods. And there's so much shit out there they can't possibly remember where everything is, so they're like looking around all the time. Like not that, but an actual run through the woods. Like Jeff, we've done those.
We had a good one in Calgary. That's up a hill. You're running uphill the entire way.
I've shot a couple stages there. Good times.
Yeah.
Well, I just need to come to Canada, apparently.
You do.
Need to come to Alberta.
We don't have the Rhodesian wall. We don't have stuff like that. But yeah, we actually do. We've done things like holding a big dummy, not a static kind of position. You start holding a buddy, basically. Or other things like starting on skis and starting on a jet ski and, you know, things like that, just to change things up.
Yeah.
All right. So the message here, Tyler, is what? Like, let's make things a little more physical?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say that. I mean, it's just, it's kind of fatiguing when I mean, everything's the same. Every stage you shoot's the same, at least in the U.S. I mean, you can put targets at different distances. You can partial them up in different ways, but I mean, really, it's all the same. So I just, it's all about variety, keeps things interesting. But yeah, I think to call it practical shooting and ignore the physical element, basically, is pretty silly.
Well, I would say like having physical challenges is dumb, but having like putting in physical elements that make the shooting more interesting, that's cool. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I
mean,
the
difference.
If you have a 50-meter sprint, and then at the end of that, you have to shoot, 25-yard partials, and your heart rate is high, and you're, gasping for air. That's a challenge.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting, I think. I mean, it doesn't have to be that much, but yeah, it could be something. Or a little bit of longer runs, or I mean, even having a run where, I mean, have you ever seen in a match where you have, and you can't really do this too easily under USPSA rules, but and you'll see why in a second. I mean, if you have a fault line that takes you around a corner, and it's, let's say, 20 yards of running going around a thing or something, and there's just one target there, just one. So I mean, you could almost take this target at a run. You don't see that much, but that would be interesting. Because of like being able to shortcut around stuff in USPSA, that's difficult to construct.
And that's what I was going to say. A very practical rule change that would solve a lot of these problems is just eliminate running outside the fault lines.
I agree. I think I said as much of that.
I think that would make things easily 50% more interesting.
God damn it, Jeff.
But, freedom.
Yes, because people feel like something would be taken away, so they don't really they don't like that. But hey, yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with you, Tyler. All right. Go on, Tyler.
Oh, I was just going to say, while we're on the topic, are there any other things that you miss that you have seen sort of fall out of favor in stage designs?
Fall out of favor. I'm kind of thinking back to the older school of no, I mean, I would say that the matches have actually gotten tougher since I've been shooting in USP, in around here anyway. But maybe tougher in a way that is not, it's not necessarily that interesting. And what I mean is, people definitely have better guns and better skills than they used to. So the shots have gotten a little bit tighter and higher risk. So it's kind of like you spend more of your time, if it's an accuracy stage, as you discussed, you kind of shoot the whole stage in like second gear, where the challenge isn't like, I want to, go fast, or I want to make these shots. It's just basically, I don't want to fuck up because I'm just going to get hammered with penalties. So that's kind of a change. People didn't used to do that as much, but I feel like there's no shoots and hardcover plastered over stuff to a much greater extent than there used to be. Much greater. Yeah, so I kind of would like to see more long shots as opposed to tight shots, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing that's changed. And there's less, and because there's so much more shooting packed into smaller shooting areas, ironically there's like less shooting on the move, especially shooting production. It's like you shoot some stuff, then mag out, mag in, and shoot some more stuff, mag out, mag in, shoot some more stuff, but it's not very dynamic. It's not like running around and shooting.
Yeah.
And you guys will both see this. Like, I shot one club match a couple of weeks ago where I didn't need to use more than 2 positions on any stage, which was, I mean, a bit boring shooting limited, but had I been shooting production, it would have been infuriating. If you catch my drift.
Just standing reloads all day.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been like run over here, like shoot this, reload, shoot that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, and
again, that sort of thing is par for the course.
Yeah.
In many places.
I have a lot fewer years in, but I think, since I've been in, the clamoring was for more technical stages, more difficult stages. And I think what happened is, imagine a stage where, there's open targets everywhere, close, medium, far, and the stage designers and MDs as a whole said, we're going to slap partials everywhere. Voila, now it's technical stage.
Yeah,
I think that's sort of what you were talking about.
Yes, I do not like that design trend.
You can give people all the rope they need to hang themselves with open targets if you just, place them in the right places.
Oh no, that's absolutely true. And to me, like when you actually make a stage less technical in many respects when you do that, because instead of, hey, I'm going to shoot in and out of position on this, or I'm going to take this set of targets as I move over to here, and I'm kind of like formulating a plan. It's okay, I'm going to run over there, I'm going to stand still, and I'm not going to hit those fucking no shoots. All right, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to reload and run over there, and I'm going to stand still, and I'm just going to stay off the hardcover, because that's my whole job for this whole stage. He's like, shooting on the move, fuck that. Like, I'm just going to stand still and like shoot. So in trying to make things technical, a lot of the technical elements are taken away, and a lot of the fun stripped out of it too, and the dynamic shooting element is gone.
Yeah.
So people do that, they kind of wreck perfectly good stages. This kind of reminds me of a conversation I had with a match director a few years ago when he sent me some stages to look at for he was making a section match. And she was just looking for advice. Hey, I'm trying to make like the ultimate stage. How do I do this? And I looked at it, and he had stages that were all sort of samey, as you've discussed. It was not very much movement. Then you'd put out some targets, and it would be, has to be enough shooting in each position. I could just look at the diagram. He intends you to shoot from here, here, and here. We need enough rounds from there. And it has to be like 26, 28, 30 rounds, 32 rounds every stage because that's better. And it kind of fell down that it's like, oh, well, the stage is too easy now. So we put up some hardcover and some no shoots, and there you go. And you have a bunch of stages that all kind of look the same. And what I said is, hey, instead of thinking about it like stage design and building the perfect stage, think about it like match design. Just think of it that way. And you can have a couple stages like this, sort of the vanilla or plain USPSA field course thing. And then think of some stuff you want to put in some other ones. Like, hey, I want a stage where you prone out. Or I want a stage with a long run on it. Or I want a stage where you're going to be inclined to shoot one-handed somehow. There's something like that, and then build those elements into stages, and then stop worrying about round count. Just like, hey, if you build a stage that looks cool and it turns out it's 21 rounds. It's like, don't add targets. Just leave it. Just leave it the way it is if you have an interesting one. But people, I think, don't usually think in terms of match design. They think, let's build stages, and they just kind of do that. It is, it's a little bit depressing for me. Maybe that's not the right word, but well, yeah, maybe that is the right word. As you guys know, I travel around and do shooting classes, and I'll build stages for that, right? So it is. It's something that I put. What do you say, Jeff? 20 minutes into it, 25 minutes, like whatever props I have at hand. Build some stages, or build a stage. Like, hey, this walls here, walls there. People just kind of drag over props, and I arrange them. And in more clubs than I'd care to discuss, probably about half the time, somebody will look at the stage and be like, oh, this is a really interesting stage. I wish they built stages like this at my club. And I'm just kind of like, yep. Holy shit, I put 20 minutes and zero thought into this stage. This is not a good stage. This is just like the most plain Jane, like basic bitch thing that I could come up with in the time I had allotted. You know what I mean? And it's like, it shouldn't be like that. It should be, it should be more. It should be better, in my opinion, of course. Okay, well, Jeff, do you want to talk about your thing? We should move on,
So I've been without a gun for about a month now.
Are you going to exercise your Second Amendment rights without a gun, Jeff?
I don't have any, so none to exercise. Cracked the slide on an open gun. Had it for about 5 years, and I figure about 40,000 rounds through it.
Is that normal? Like, is that when it kind of should be breaking, or what?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a consensus as to what's normal or not. What I do know is if there's such a thing, there's a bit of an epidemic around here with cracked slides. Of the about 10 guys we have in Alberta, my province, from A class and up, I think we have 5 cracked slides within the last 3-4 months. So, who knows?
9 or 38?
9. They're all 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just strange that it's all happening around the same time, so there's a whole bunch of us trying to scramble and figure out what to do. As of recording this, our provincial match, a sectional, if you will, is coming up this coming weekend. So I'm going to have to borrow a gun and shoot the match.
Well, what could go wrong?
Yeah, no kidding. So lesson learned from this, have a backup gun, have 2 guns, which is exactly what I'm actually doing. I have 2 guns that are about 2 weeks away from being completed and built and exported from, I don't even know where, I think Tennessee, and I'll be receiving them hopefully soon.
People that don't have 2 guns truly baffle me. No, I mean, if you're serious enough that you travel for matches or attend classes, you should have two guns.
Yep, completely agree.
If you can't afford to have two of your particular gun, you're probably shooting the wrong division, or shooting the wrong gun at least, or probably the wrong division.
Yep.
Damn it, Jeff.
So this may be a really dumb question because I know next to nothing about open.
Yep.
Is it like a complete failure, or is it just something like you shoot it's going to get worse, or it's going to fly off and impale someone, or what I mean?
So where these slides are cracking, all the ones I've seen right now are cracking at the ejection port.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those that will very quickly get large enough to fully separate, and you don't know when it'll happen. So you could go another couple hundred rounds, could be another 1,000 rounds, but really should stop using it once a crack like that is spotted.
Can a slide be like re-welded and fixed, or is it just trash?
It's trash. There's a guy here that's tried laser welding it a few times. It doesn't hold. So, yeah. So on that topic, I suppose, for you guys with 2 or more guns, well, you don't count, Ben, with number of guns you have.
But how dare you, sir? I have 3 guns. How many guns do I have, Jeff? Do you have any idea?
I think when I came to your place, I tripped over 2 or 3. Those are the ones you have lying around.
Let's have a bet. Jeff and I will each guess whichever one of us is closer to the real number.
The problem is, Tyler, I don't actually know how many guns I have.
But you count, and then you give us one of them.
I tried that one time, and I got depressed.
That could be a fun game. Listeners, comment on this video and put a guess as to how many guns Ben has. And when he finally gets a count, we'll see who's closest.
I'm very good at acquiring them, and I'm not that good at getting rid of them, even if I don't want, need, or use them. I'm a lazy bitch, Joel. Or Jeff, sorry.
Well, anyways, for those of you guys with practice gun and match gun, how do you actually divvy up what you use for what purpose?
Oh, okay. So you get 2 of them the same?
Yep.
So then you're just going to shoot them both. So you like shoot them both, about equal amounts, dry fire them both, fuck around with them both, shoot them. At some point in the near, in the 6-8 weeks that you do that, you will decide you like one better than the other. That's always been the case for me. Okay. I will like one better. Don't know which one that'll be. You'll just remember it by series. Every gun is a little bit different. You'll get to know them as you drive. Like maybe you like the trigger on one better or whatever, or one of them jams. That's like your girlfriend stepping out on you, right? Like the relationship's never the same after, So it's like that. I mean, you'll decide which one you like better. The other one becomes the practice gun. Then you kind of shoot the match gun just for training up for matches and shooting it, and you shoot the practice gun all the time. I kind of neglect my practice gun. I like to kind of see what goes wrong with it, what I can break, how dirty can it get before it stops working, that kind of stuff. And then, you run it that way.
Do you take your match gun out to practice before a match?
Your match gun, yes. And your match gun is your backup gun when you're practicing.
Okay.
So you go to practice with 2 guns. If something goes wrong with your practice gun, then you have your match gun to shoot. So they both go with you. Like sometimes some people even take parts off their match gun and put it into the practice gun. So like if you're shooting a CZ, for example, and the slide stop and your practice gun breaks during practice, you just pop the one out of your match gun, put it in the practice gun and keep shooting. And then the brand new one goes into the match gun. Then a couple practices before your big match, you shoot your match gun. Make sure it's working and everything's okay. Chronograph out of your match gun, all that stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I do it a little different just because of what I shoot.
You shoot a Glock, so it's different.
And to say one Glock trigger is better than the other is kind of nonsense.
That's
And
true.
so,
No,
yeah,
no, some are better than others.
I mean, we're talking about.
Of my Glocks, I
Eh,
could show you. I have a couple that are like, I really like the trigger on this one, and the other ones I'm like, I don't care for this at all.
But what I'll do, when I get a new one, that's the match gun. Because the old one, the old one's just, it's really just an OCD thing. Like newer must be better, right? It's got less wear and tear on it, and so that becomes the match gun. And then one of the older ones is the practice/backup gun. But well, the other thing with the Glock is, you can basically make the trigger whatever you want with connector swaps and spring swaps. So we're just talking matters of degree, and I'm not much of a trigger snub anyway. So new is always better. That's my philosophy.
I like it. Well, does that conclude your topic, Mr. Jeff? Getting a backup gun?
It does. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, guys, I want to talk about something that I did a couple days in practice, and I've returned to fast hosing drills, which is not stuff that I've worked on a lot for. I mean, it occurs to me for years. So I was running LPres pretty hard for like 3 or 4 practice days. I mean, we're talking like hard, like hundreds of rounds at a time, going hard at it, and having a lot of fun. So it was interesting for me to do it from a practice standpoint, to return to it a few years after I've really worked on it, and then just kind of see how well I could do, see what I thought, see where are my skills at, and see what I could get out of the training. And what I'd say I got out of it was getting acclimated to shooting super fast, so that everything like slower or more regular pace shooting felt very slow and very controlled. That'd be a good way of putting it. What? No discussion, no question, no nothing. That's it.
So what difference did you notice from, say, run number 1 and run number 30? What are you consciously thinking about, and what are you over incrementally?
That's a really good question. What's different? I would say that the best shooting I did was when I was very, very relaxed and not tired. So I could shoot to the point where I was tired, and I was thinking like, yep, I am not going to get a better score today, or it's unlikely. But when I was relaxed, so I'd shoot, I don't know, after about 100 rounds, I'd be pretty relaxed and kind of in the groove and feeling the way my gun's recoiling, everything. When I was very relaxed on every level, that's when I did the best shooting. And when I was really focused on looking at look to where I want the gun to go, and let the gun come to me and all that stuff, that was my best. And when I started to get tired or tense up, it was fucked, as you might expect. Although being tired is not usually an issue for me. It kind of mattered when you're trying to cut a couple hundredths of a second off a drill. I mean, everything needs to be on point.
How much are you digging into the timer? Like looking at
I looked at everything.
Splits, like every run you're digging deep.
Okay, so when I started shooting, under 5 LPres was like God mode. If you could actually do that, that was pretty good. And I would say without specific practice, like I mean, mid 4s to low 4s cold is quite good. With iron sights, you'd agree with that, probably, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, mid 4s to low 4s is quite good. Yeah. It took me, I don't know, a couple years before I could get under 4 seconds LPres, like under any circumstance, like shoot myself warmed up and then take a bunch of cracks at it. And doing under 4 with all the hits on the paper took some effort. And I've kind of like not fucked around with it for a while, but I've kind of been thinking I could do mid 4s, low 4s without, too much work shooting iron sights. Like, yeah, I could do that. And now returning to it, I think with this was back in my Beretta days. That's how long this was. Like I did do maybe a 350 or something. Maybe I don't remember exactly the time. I probably wrote it down somewhere, but like that was it. And I was within 2 practice days shooting my limited gun, which I would say right now it's a disadvantage because I've never done this sort of training with it. I'm a little slower to draw it and reload it than a production gun, for reasons that I may or may not understand. I was under 4 seconds basically immediately. And the first day shooting it, by the end of the first day, I was faster with that gun than I'd ever been before, even with specific training on the drill. And then I just kept pushing down and down and down, and then started looking at, hey, what are the split times, the draw times, the reload times? Let's look at all that stuff. And started working on those specific elements like turn and draw and the reload and pushing it down as far as I could. And I mean, to the point now, I think like 3.2 something is doable for me. I think I could. I didn't, but I could.
Yeah.
If I put in the time. So that was good. It was really interesting training to like be looking at the timer a lot and then kind of assessing like, hey, how do I feel about this, or like what's going on? And it was good from that perspective, especially just the sense of like understanding how fast you're shooting and working out hit factors to where if I shot a 14.5 hit factor, that would feel kind of shitty. If I shot a 16 hit factor, that would feel good. But then when I shot a proper stage, like I went to a match a couple of days later and shot a regular USPSA field course that people, like good guys are shooting like 6 or 7s on. And I shot like a 9 factor on a stage when I felt very slow and controlled, but shooting at a 9 factor pace. Whereas like just that, the sense of control you got, that I got from it when I went to switch to slower shooting was excellent. So it wasn't very useful in and of itself, but it was like a nice kind of training tool.
And that kind of segues into, you see guys throw a lot of volume and energy into what I would call, and in not a disparaging way, but parlor tricks like sub 2, 4 aces, what you're doing with El Prez, a lot of guys with the 6 reload 6. So you'd say that's the great value, is basically acclimating yourself to such a speed that a controlled run feels.
Well, that, and it's also mental, like the mental strength to know that you can do what other people can do. You don't want people doing stuff that you cannot do. That's not a good thing for you in a competition.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, even though the rules are completely different for the Instagram runs. Like, let's be real. Unlimited attempts, whatever. Like the rules are different, but it's not completely meaningless. The where you get into trouble with that stuff is not having the right perspective about what it is that you're doing. But that those things have been valuable. So if I go to a match and I shoot a 450 L Prez, I would probably be, I would not be happy about that time. I might not be pissed, but I wouldn't be like, oh man, I fucking crushed it. And I wouldn't be thinking that. It'd be like, yeah, that was all right. And that's a good place to be mentally, It's the same as I found myself in a situation a few times where I can shoot a major match and then the stages are left up and I can go do whatever I want on them. Mm-hmm. And it gives you a very different perspective about the stage runs you're seeing people shoot when they're under the gun or under pressure versus what can be accomplished with unlimited attempts, that kind of thing.
Well, it's been interesting to run like 18 series classifiers.
Away from nationals?
Yeah, and then going back and comparing my nationals runs to what I can do either at a club match or in practice. That's been pretty interesting.
And I would say it's inevitable that that's the case. That's just the way it works.
Well, that gives me a lot to think about, because I'm kind of, you see, like you said, the Instagram runs or whatever, you see guys constantly working on one drill, like trying to do crazy stuff. Like Four Aces comes to mind, sub twos like the thing, or, trying to get below a second and a half for a bill drill. And I've kind of dismissed that and not put any training energy toward it. But what you've said makes total sense.
No, I mean, I think letting those things have their place and kind of keeping them in context is really good. There are many guys that sort of shit is 80% of their training, when it should be 10% of your training or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are hosing themselves because their expectations get super unrealistic. I mean, as you can imagine, Tyler, there's a big difference between walking up to a classifier stage you've never seen before and shooting it at nationals, and kind of like understanding it a little bit, maybe doing some specific drills to help with whatever you're not strong on that classifier, and then shooting it at your club match or even shooting it on a training bay. It's a lot different. And as long as you understand what you're dealing with, like, that's fine. Shall we move on to some questions, boys?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Hey, crew. In reference to recent podcast discussion about gotcha culture of ROs with DQs, there are a handful of level 2 matches in my area, most of which are free of any such blatant actions by ROs. The only incident I can think of resulted in the match director verbally stating to numerous people at the RO that caused a lot of issues that weekend will never be invited back. On the podcast, you guys held the name of a specific RO that was intentionally causing problems. Why not dox them? Is there nothing in the current USPSA NROI infrastructure to at least curb this type of unacceptable behavior? Why, as paying and participating members, should we not burn them? I assume this is partly to keep a professional image of all podcast members and not stir the pot even further. I guess I am just curious if you all think the idea of burning members of the gotcha culture would be beneficial. I'm sure this could be addressed by USPSA or NROI somehow, but it seems like there's little to no concern from the above. Well, I'll open with saying NROI and USPSA, yeah, they don't give a fuck, quite honestly. Based on what I know about those organizations right now, I don't think they really care or really want to hear it. But yeah, what do you think, Jeff? Should we, dox them or whatever?
I don't have a problem with doing it, honestly. Most of the time, I don't know the names because other than being an RO that stands out for the wrong reasons, they're not good shooters typically, so they're not people I know.
What do you say, Tyler?
Well, I've posted at length about the adversarial relationship between the RO cadre and shooters before in other venues. Yeah, it's a cultural thing. I mean,
well, why not dox them? Burn them down.
Well, I mean, if the guy wants to, go for it. It's not going to do any good. 2 more BOCs will rise up to take his or her place. But no, they're going to rally behind their people. USPSA is, the impression I get is that they will rally behind their ROs, especially the ones that are active and the professional RO cadre. I've called it before and heard it called before. If you're talking about that, if you're talking about isolated incidents at club matches or sections, I have news for you. Some people are just dicks. Like, if you have a persistent problem with one dick in your area, call him out. But yeah, I mean, it's part of a culture. And I mean, nothing will change until the culture changes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess I'll speak for myself. I agree with Tyler. It's not going to do any good, for one. For two, doxing people is a dick move. Like, you can do a dick move for good reasons, and I have definitely pulled my share of dick moves online. But you should understand it is a dick move. Like, and to pull a dick move that's not going to do any good, like, why would I bother with that? That's just a shitty tactic, quite honestly. So that being the situation, like, I don't really want to do that. That and the unintended consequences of doxing people or really doing a dick move online, that stuff can spiral out of control, or it takes on a life of its own, and you are definitely playing with fire. Probably nobody will care, and people just think you're a dick. And the other part of that is, for me, like, I personally, I really don't like taking like the match drama. Like, I don't like putting that online, which I know sounds strange coming from me, but very infrequently have I ever, like, I don't know, tried to put it online or whatever. So an example would be, there's some disagreement or there's some issue on a stage, and then, or like, even worse, like, I see another guy getting into it with, like, there's some issue that doesn't involve me. Like, I very infrequently will want to go put that online. Very infrequently. And the reason is, it's like, if it was addressed at the time with the people involved, there's nothing is going to be gained from putting it online except for you being a dick. That, and also, I want to be able to walk up to somebody and have a conversation with them, and, like, I'm not going to take and put my spin of it online, like, and have that person, be uncomfortable with that. I want to be able to engage with people sort of like on the up and up in person at the match. Like, I don't, people already have the perception that I take and put shit online. I don't want to give them any more reason to think that I would do that. Am I making sense, Jeff?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't want to be that dude or do that stuff. Like, in addition to, it kind of takes on a life of its own. Oh, and shit, lately I've just, I'd say the last couple years, I've really kind of come to the opinion that there's not much that I'm going to be able to do to affect any meaningful change. And the best option for me is just to get on a plane and fly to a different place and shoot a match there, as opposed to where I think there will be problems. Like, I just, like, I'm not trying to fix that or change that. I don't. It's like, all right, I will just go somewhere else. This is not an issue for me.
Yeah. There's nothing good about the call-out culture, where for every perceived slight or grievance you have against someone else, you go to social media and call them out. Nothing changes. Nothing gets done. People form teams and they hurl inserts back and forth, and it's just as likely if people like the other guy better than you, they're just going to turn around and make a shitstorm on you. Like,
right now,
there's nothing good about this.
No, there's nothing good really happens. But I will say this: like, there's some guys, like Paul Hendricks is a good example. Call out culture had to happen there.
Yeah.
USPSA board was aware of it. They didn't act quickly, and it was so clear cut that, calling that out was appropriate.
Yeah, and I distinguish that from what we're talking about here.
Yeah, which is a guy's being a dick.
Yeah, every petty little thing, everyone comes, like, if you save this for important stuff, like +2ing people, for cheaters, then it still holds some weight. If you come and everything's a scandal, everything's drama, then people ignore it. There's nothing to it. It's not special, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that, no, I would be concerned. Most of the call out would be, I mean, how many times have you walked up or seen half of a situation where it looks like, hey, I think that competitor's being a little bit of a dick, or it looks like that RO's being a little bit of a dick, just based on you seeing just a small piece of something?
Mhm.
Like, you didn't really see what happened. I don't really know. But if I wanted to be a dick, I could go call it out online or something. I mean, but that's, not like if I went online and started dropping names every time I saw a competitor ask for a double, like, nobody'd want to squad with me.
Yeah.
But if you're on a squad with somebody and you like kind of look at it like, dude, seriously, when they're trying to get a call go their way or something, that's appropriate to the instance, I think. I mean, that's okay.
If you want to correct bad behavior, do it on the local level. Peer pressure, like embarrass people. Embarrassment works. Like calling each other duty heads and assholes and dicks on Facebook doesn't do anything. Like if you make it hurt, like humiliation works, but do it locally, like in person.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other part is like it is fairly easy, except at the major match level. It is fairly easy just to avoid clubs and people that you don't want to fuck with.
Yeah.
Because like, more than likely you will not change them. You just won't. Like they need to leave the sport or, go to IDPA or something. Like they just need to go away. But they're not going to do that, and people in USPSA aren't going to push them out because participation. So that is the way it is. Does that sound about right, Tyler?
That sounds spot on.
We have more participation, so therefore better. Hey, Jeff, I've got a question for you from another guy. This is his whole email. The 50 millimeter equipment rule in IPSC is stupid and unnecessary. Change my mind.
That's an interesting rule, actually.
It is. I was thinking about it as like, I don't know that it is stupid necessarily, but
I
don't know what it's for.
Get where it's coming from the days of having, like, I guess they're presuming that having the equipment far away from their body is somehow advantageous. I don't think it is necessarily, but this harks back to, I imagine, the practical days when one is supposed to conceal firearms and magazines. What makes it interesting
for
to
my
me?
Benefit? Will you
Yes.
For my benefit and those in the audience who don't know, can you tell me what the 50 millimeter rule is?
So basically, once your magazines are inserted into your mag pouch and your gun is holstered, 50 millimeters is the maximum distance between the magazine or the center line of your grip to your body. 50 millimeters is basically the shorter side of a credit card.
Okay.
And what makes it interesting is the number is given in the rulebook, but it's also specifically stated that the distance is only a rough guide. So it's not completely enforceable as it's written. It's also enforced.
And this applies across all divisions in IPSC?
Yeah, all divisions. Most reasonable equipment basically allows you to comply with this rule. A notable exception would be something like a Blade Tech drop offset holster. Those tend to cant the gun inwards, the grip a little further away. So lots of people do actually fail that test in IPSC production because the grip of the gun is canted away from the body, meaning that it's greater than 50 millimeters. I don't know how I feel about this rule. I don't think it does very much. I don't think it's really advantageous to break that rule to be exceeding 50 millimeters. So I don't think I can change his mind.
I don't think I can change his mind either, except to say the law of unintended consequences is a thing. So when you start fucking around with rules.
Yeah, who knows what people come up with?
Yeah, who knows?
Like, I can see someone without that rule, see some person in open division going with a holster that mounts the gun vertically in front of your midline, like a foot away from you, or some stupid shit like that.
They probably would do that. Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah. So no, I don't really have an opinion on that rule. I think things are fine as it is. It's just a little unfortunate that the way it's written and the fact that it's not meant to be a set in concrete type of rule means that just because you pass one RO's look on your gear doesn't mean you'll pass another's.
That is facts. All right. Well, a very enlightening conversation as always, gentlemen. One plug. I don't think I plugged it. Tyler, you have a drill up on Training Group, don't you?
Yeah, Cadence Breaker. If you're on PSTG, you should check that one out. Pretty proud of it.
Okay, so practicalshootingtraininggroup.com for those of you that are members. Tyler Turner's got a drill. It's up in the drill section. It's pretty neat. All right. Well, that's it for business stuff. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like the answer to, go to bensecker.com, send me your question. If you want to watch Tyler's drill, go to practicaltrainingshootinggroup.com. If you want to talk to Jeff, I don't know. That's just too bad. You can't talk to Jeff. Jeff? No? All right.